What's up, Dragon Brood? We're here with another deck for you. We got a couple more days till Kamigawa Neon Dynasty comes out. And again, remember to like, subscribe, share so you don't miss one of these videos because we're putting out multiples a day leading up to set release, so y'all have stuff to play with and build from whenever the set goes live. Also, I apologize, my energy is a little bit down today. I spent a lot of time in a pretty contentious set of discussions over on Twitter, but I promised y'all I was going to bring you these decks, so I'm going to keep on keeping on. Today we are talking about Bant Midrange, and we're going to take this in a little bit of a different direction, but this is an excuse to play with Tamiyo. So let's see what our decks look like today. So our biggest goal in this deck is to get from 2 to 4 mana as quickly as we can so we can start hitting our big cards and just keep dropping them in sequence. But to that end, we're starting out with a couple of March of the Otherworldly Light. And this is a little bit of a different new card, but it's kind of one of the few true removal cards we have in here. And for those of you who don't know what it is, it's an X and a white. It's an instant. It's initial cost to pay it. You can discard a white card and reduce the cost. And exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment with mana cost X or less. So it's just kind of a catch-all removal card if you have the mana for it, which hopefully, because of the way our deck's built, we will have plenty of mana. We're playing a couple copies of Lotus Cobra. I didn't want a bunch because I wasn't going to play a bunch of fetch lands and other stuff, whatever. I didn't think that was necessarily the way you wanted to go with this, but you want to have mana. I mean, that's the biggest thing. You want to be able to hit all your drops, and this is going to help us get there. Playing 4 Root Coil Creeper because it taps for mana of any color. Like, not a lot more to say. Though, we do have 1 key flashback spell that we can reuse, so I don't necessarily mind having this in there. Of course, 4 Floral Florahedron, Tangled Florahedron, not Florahedron. This is 2 mana, 1/1, tap for a green. However, it can also be a land, so you do have things that have landfall triggers and could matter if you want to hit those. Brutal Cathar, this is just kind of a way to slow the opponent down or remove something. I expect in a lot of cases the Cathar is actually going to end up getting removed, and that's mostly fine if we can slow down the opponent or remove a token creature and not give him anything back. That's even better. Esca's Chariot, because the card's really good. 4 mana, 4/4, make 2/2/2 cats. And then, of course, crew it and copy tokens. And we do have some things we can copy, so nothing wrong with that. We're playing 3 Felidar Retreat. Again, this is another one of our things with landfall triggers, which we really like. We should have plenty of mana to be able to trigger this. And being able to pump our team permanently is really, really nice. Because we have a bunch of small things early in the game. So if we can actually pump those up, that gives us kind of another out in addition to making creature tokens. Playing a couple copies of Yasharn because, well, Yasharn's a 4/4 for 4 and puts lands in our hand. You get a forest and a plains. And the best part about Yasharn, really, that I think goes kind of unnoticed a lot of times, is the sacrifice restriction, right? Your opponent can't sacrifice permanents to do their thing. And that's actually pretty big because it turns off some cards. You know, it also means they can't use treasure, stuff like that. You can really shut down some strategies with Yasharn. So don't forget about that being something that actually is relevant in all of these situations. We're playing 1 copy of Kura the Boundless Sky. This is one I think is more of an experimental slot that we're trying here. It's Flying Death Touch, 5 mana, 4/4. When it dies, you get your choice of making an XX creature where X is equal to the number of lands you control, or you can search your library for 3 lands and put those into your hand. So if we're trying to hit our landfall trigger for some reason, we can put more lands in our hand. Otherwise, when it dies, we just try to make another token that's, you know, hopefully 5/5, 6/6, something like that. But it is one more large size token that you can copy from Esca's Chariot, which is also pretty sweet. So you might want to keep that in mind as well. And then Tamiyo, Completed Sage, which of course has some people's hearts broken that, you know, Tamiyo got assimilated by the Borg, or in this case, the Praetors. But, you know, is what it is. The card itself is 2 green, blue, and a split Phyrexian mana, which means you can pay 2 life, or you can play a blue or a green. Tameo does come in with less loyalty, though, if you do pay the life. So, totally fair on that. Tameo can also tap a creature or remove X loyalty to return a card with that, or actually, I guess, make a copy of that and put it into play. Or you get a Tameo's Journal, which lets you tap to draw a card, or your spells cost less. So, very good all around. Tameo can do a lot just to get us to the later stages, just being able to gum up their best creature or whatever. So, that's actually really nice. And all the while growing herself to get you to the critical point. Now, do you want to play Tameo on turn 3? Like, maybe. There'll probably be some times where it makes sense to do that. There's going to be a lot of other times you just rather just wait while you set up the board and do other things. Like, that's fine too. I think Tameo is just a pretty versatile card in general, so it should be pretty fun to play with in this list. Now, we're also playing 3 Wrenn and 7, because Wrenn and 7's really good in this deck. One, because putting lands in your hand's great when you have all the landfall stuff, but also just being able to make a big body that you can also copy with Eska's Chariot is good. You're almost never going to use the last ability. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever used I guess what we'll call the ultimate on Wrenn and 7. I've actually used the 0 ability to put multiple lands into play, which, can work. If you have a Cobra out, could be a bunch of mana. If you have a Felidar Retreat out, could be a bunch of counters, right? Like, so there's a few situations where the first 3 abilities on Wrenn and 7 can be very good. I haven't found any. I think the problem is just getting to that -8 or whatever is pretty difficult without some trickery. So it's not something I really even aim to have happen. Then, of course, we're playing 3 Storm the Festival. What I was alluding to earlier that we can use the Root Coil Creeper's second ability to pay extra for the flashbacks. But realistically, this card here is doing a couple things. You can find 2 Planeswalkers that can give you tokens or tap opponent's creatures down, right? You can get like Chariot and something. You can get Felidar Retreat and a land if you need to. Or actually, Felidar Retreat Yasharn is also good because then you get the creature and the enchantment and you get to put a land in hand, right, to trigger. So there's a few different things that this card's going to do for us in this list. I actually really like it. Then our last card from our spell pile is 1 Coma, Cosmic Serpent. 7 mana, 6/6. Can't be countered. Then, make a 3/3 every turn, and you can sack a 3/3 to either give it Indestructible or Hexproof, I believe. Yeah. Or no, sorry, tap a creature, and then it... I don't know why it said Hexproof, because it's not Hexproof, definitely. But it gives it Indestructible, and it taps a creature, and that's actually enough in and of its own. I wish it gave it Hexproof, but it doesn't. And I know that because the last time I played Coma, you actually still got removed by things that exile it, so that's very disappointing. But yeah, those are the spells we're running with in this deck, and I think that should be enough to get us through most situations. Now, looking at the lands, we're kind of spread a little thin in a few spots, but we are playing 4 Branch-Off Pathway because they're the blue-green lands. Playing 2 Boseiju because Boseiju is going to show up in almost every deck that has green, but it allows you to destroy an artifact or enchantment, which is great. We don't really have legendary creatures to reduce the cost, so I guess that's not true. I guess we have Yasharn, but not really. Maybe if we activate Chariot, we can get this on the cheap. Playing 4 Branch-Off Pathways, and this is actually fine too. Playing a full set, you might as well play all the pathways when you're playing 3 colors. I know some people skimp on them. If you don't have them in your collection, I understand. But realistically, they're good enough that you need to just play all of them. There's not much reason not to, especially since they don't come into play tapped or anything. We are playing 3 Deserted Beach because, well, they do come into play tapped, and blue and green, or blue and white are our secondary colors, and tertiary colors, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. But we still need to be able to get multiple colors, so we're playing 3 of those. Playing 1 Eiganju, which really is just a white land, but every once in a while you're going to get to deal forward to an attacking or blocking creature, so we don't hate that. Then we're playing, like we said, the full set of the pathways, so we're playing 4 Hingegate pathways, and we are playing 4 Overgrown Farmland, because those make white and green, and those are our 2 main colors, so we're definitely in for that. We're playing 2 Forest and 1 Plains. However, if you really want to make a change, you probably could cut some land for an additional Plains potentially, but probably for an additional Forest, just so you have some more stuff to go grab with your Sharn. But yeah, that's about it. Nothing too much to write home about. We're not playing a ton of new cards. This is really kind of a spot to showcase Tamiyo and March of Otherworldly Light more than anything else. Now, the cool part about this list is if you've been playing Standard, you probably own a lot of the cards already. We only added, what, 4 or 5 new cards, outside of a couple of the land, obviously. But as far as the main deck spells, we really didn't add a whole lot, so that's pretty cool. Also, I want to be fair and give credit here to Brad Nelson, because the idea, he had a similar list, and adding the Lotus Cobra was a thing I hadn't really considered the way I had it built. So credit to him. It's kind of where those 2 Lotus Cobras came from. But yeah, overall, I think this deck is actually pretty quality. I think it has a chance to really do kind of big things while being subtle about it. I don't think it's going to run away with a lot of games unless you get, I mean, I guess it's possible you can get those couple of explosive starts where you just go like mana creature, big thing, big thing, big thing, right? That'd be a lot of pressure for your opponent to deal with. And those will happen sometimes. But it feels like it's going to be a deck that kind of does the steady value thing turn after turn to eventually get you going where you're going. What I like about it, though, is you're not going to really be susceptible to board sweepers necessarily. There's no one card type or strategy that feels like it really runs over this, which I think is really good. But, you know, it remains to be seen until we get to play with it. But as always, the deck list will be down in the description below, so if you need that on release day. Also, if you haven't yet, please consider joining the channel and helping me out for as little 99 cents. It's just like a Patreon, but right here on YouTube, if you want to check that out. And then remember, like I said before, like, subscribe, share, all that wonderful stuff. Sharing and liking the video are the 2 biggest things you can do for me, especially if you made it to this point in the video. But also, hitting that notification bell lets you make sure that you don't miss a video we have coming out. And, you know, subscribing, just 'cause it lets me know you love me. But otherwise, that's all I have for you for now. We'll see you next time.